Ayano krese heavy on what that child kwama biano. A Christopher hotelfo anase a soma udoma hotelfo ebenya de akwakodi ho. Anase edin ene wo nanso eni ho ehye dipa da sani ebetu akwiem ene onyankropon akotena. Democracy eyema bibifo anase enyema yen. Kwasi broni trim popa ene sentia. Wadi vaccination eba abibiman mu. Na family plan so mpo no. Enhye ben ana kwasi broni hye ye e wodi krom enti a wodi etoa yen. Eba ne sen ana gay ati atese e wo wiase afana nyinara. Ene we se Illuminati, ene we se Freemason, ene we se sumwe mu. Ni nyinara ahyase firi he. No broni trimpo a wodi sa nyema we nyinara e ba no de atoa abibiman mu no ene sen. We entram so hwe Wake Up Africa. Kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia. Awia dumienu ekopem awia no mienu live on Royal TV. Eye dwumadi a ofa poku danko ye executive director Edema Free the Mind Movement ene ofa Israel Nkroma a eye coordinator Edema Free the Mind Movement no.
Ebeka me Kofi kumi ho.
Na yesim konya na madi dwumadi ho chiame na ensem bia tise no ye gina twe kronkron so abakosem ene ntwere ahodo so na ede mo hu ba bia obibini ufiri ene mu a eduro ene soma wo sombo na mabrofo sisi ache ebra so se call together twele kaye no etumi bam ne no ana hyase o Free the Mind Movement dwumadi e friend Wake Up Africa dwumadi so braso say ye fa dwumadi live on Royal TV so kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu kopim no mienu na ya de so adwenche na osemmisa ye ano e de ama Wake Up Africa abibiman moma yen sore one business general abatown ayeniko multimedia so pay video editing, photo shoot, photo editing, documentary, business advert, music video, funeral program, birthday parties, onua uni haukra. Esan say Niko multimedia ebeye ni nyina. Nanso yenwie yo, se wo ye wedding papa bi, Niko multimedia si enha ho kra. O me cover ni nyina ma. Se wo ye asori, anaso se wo ye edwumakuo bi a o pese wo streaming live o program. Aye social media handles na. Aye Twitter, Facebook and the keka ho na. Niko multimedia si woni how. Esan so mo ye ni nyina live abra program na ekoso. Niko multimedia si omotonton gadget aye media gadget papa ebini aye audio and video equipment, cameras, speakers, microphones, mixers nyina Niko multimedia aye ho adwuma. Niko multimedia ewo Koforidia eho ana omotare betimi afrɛ Niko multimedia ewo 0244549107 aye Niko multimedia the media general ewo town. Thank you.
Amuna obaye krumse oba betray yamesu eche no tonipa eche no diasase akwanu mana diasase akwanu me
Gabi wani gusto a wo hwe aye dwumade ya tun di Wake Up Africa Royal Television so osomfo Kofi kumi maji egwa na meji magwa se ya woni se me ne empanyifo mienu bi na ya kwasie da bia na premoto a fidie yi so no yesi nkonya na yetumi di dwumadi asomo eye wofa ya opoku dankwa a oye executive director Edema Free the Mind Movement one ne ba Israel Nkroma a ono so ye national coordinator Edema Free the Mind Movement ene me no ka say ofa abeka mensa ofa gina egwa na Israel nanka ene obepie ofidie mu nanso anopeya dwumadi bi atwe no ama esese okudi dwuma bi anu nti abusua mofa nche yen se ene soso ye bra panyi no wantimi ameka yen sa anopeya dwumadi bi afa na ma anu nti no na ontimi bepie fidie yi mu anu nti ye hyamobo se minim se na wotwe wo ye nimu de ebedu no na hwe enye no na waba abeka yen ho ewo fidie yi mu hwenye no onyare enye se bibia si dabi emomu no ne papa eda form de nanso enye no na eno na fa ne mre kakra nanso me no kasa yi de watimi atoto ne ma asisi ano ne na woche oba be kan yensa na fe dwumadie no ye de asomo na woche ne ne ye tena ase no ene ye bosome no ne da etoso ne bosome etoso nsia no ne da etoso 8 and June 8 June 2025 and na ye tena ase ya ofa ekwa bakosemu empensempensemu ne hwehwemu a waye afa amamuo ni sikasem ni sikantoto ye sikanhyehye ye amamre eho na wode ye wura bible nim na kyerɛ sɛ ensɛm a oyi pie no ɛyɛ na ɛnyɛ nsɛm ketewa ha na ɔfa ma yɛ penyansa sua nyansa nyansa ɔfa ne dwumadi a ɔde ama yɛ ɔsɛ youth no ɛna ɔpigya yɛn na wɔtwe ne nnɛ yɛtena ase no ɔfa edi ewura mu ɛma ɔde ewura structural adjustment ane ɛno ɛna ɔde ewura mu na ɔma yɛhu Africa ɛyɛ structural adjustment no Africa yɛde bɛhyɛ yɛ kon a yɛgye tom mu no baabi efi ɔfa ma yɛhu yi ɛbaa yɛ no tirimupo ɛtɛ akyire no ɔfa de ɔkɔyɛ hu nanso ɔfa ma yɛhu sɛ yɛn mpanyinfo a yɛde bɛhyɛ ɔmo kon sɛ ɔmo mfa nyɛ adwuma no na ɔmo nim tirimupo na de ban po na ɔmo nim enti ɔmo gye tom mu no ɔhaw ne amanneɛ ne birebire ɛwɔ ho ne nyinaa no ɔmo ɛhu ho hwee ama fiti Kwame Nkrumah brɛ so yɛwura Jerry John Rawlings ɛbɛtena akonnwa so ɔfa bobɔ so Ghana ha structural adjustment kamea yɛ sɛ ama mpanyinfo no nyinaa de aba bɛyɛ adwuma enso sɛ me no kasa yi ne yetima na yetim ɛma ɔfa de yɛkɔ Nigeria Africa ha deɛ kyerɛ sɛ ɛma no nti kura no yɛfrɛ yɛn the star of star people yɛsɛ ɔma yɛ abɔdin akɛseɛ de bɔ yɛn nsamrane na ne ɔfa kan sɛ sɛ woni broni kwasi kɔkɔɔ ɛdele ana enya nkitaho bi na ɔhyɛ aseɛ sɛ ɔbɔ ne nsama ma na ɔtoahoa wo ɛbɔ nsamrane pɛ woni sɛ asɛm ato yɛahwɛ yie esan sɛ na gɛsɛ ɔde woti awɔ fam ama kɛsɛ obu kom makum na emom sɛ wo sɛ ogyan nsamrane ne bɔ na ɔhyɛ aseɛ sɛ odidi watem na kɛsɛ wanya ho wade ho wagyina brane a wabrabɔ no obɔ ne yie akɔ wanim ɛno we nyina yɛ mpanyifo no enim ɛno nti ɔse saa dwumadie no ɛyɛ structural adjustment no ɛhyɛ aseɛ wɔ America mam na edin a na ɛwɔ so no ɛyɛ Washington consensus and Washington consensus ɛno ɛne obi trimupɔ enipa bi trimupɔ dwumadie a ɔmo hyehyɛ ya na ɔmo de yɛ America fo de gye ɔmo sika tax ahodoɔ gye efi ɔmo nsam na ne nyinaa no ɔmo yɛ na afɛ ɔmo sida bi yɛmfa nkɔ wiase nyinaa na yɛntumi ma ɛmfa control nipa ɛna nam so ma Ghana yɛn so ɛnɛ structural adjustment ɛne yɛ kan ne parliament yɛ na yɛ abagye so yɛ kɔgye yɛ na yɛ abagye so ɔfada we nyina di ɛyɛ na wɔtwe ɛnɛ watena si minim sɛ ɔde yɛ bewura mu me kai sɛ last week no ka sɛ ɛnɛ deɛ ɔde yɛ besane aba efie te ɛnɛ deɛ ɔde yɛ bewura mu Ghana fiti sɛ kwa minim sɛ ɔbɛfa fi Kwame Nkrumah so ɔbɛfa fi yɛwura Jerry John Rawlings so ɛno deɛ ɛwɔ ne nsɛm na maka ne saa wie no announcement kakra na afei yɛato adwumadie no so ɛyɛ free the mind movement and free the mind movement onim sɛ bosumi bia mu no yɛwɔ school a yɛyɛ school we yɛto yɛn nsa frɛ obi bia sɛ woyɛ sɔfoɔ woyɛ imam woyɛ hena na wopɛ sɛ woba bia school we yɛpono no abie de ama wo na yɛayɛ de ama ɛyɛ free the mind for mpanyinfo ɛwom enti woyɛ free the mind member woka kuo ne ho na wo hold position ukuta mpanyindie bia mepaacho woka ho ebi anu nti bɔ modern na saa dwumadie enyi ho mfim date no ɛyɛ 14th June ɛyɛ busumu we ya yɛ wom yi ne da toso du9 na kyerɛ sɛ dwumadie no ɛkɔso na yɛbɛyɛ no wɔ ɛyɛ headquarters ɛyɛ cultural center 37 hospital na ti hɔ no ohun sɛ ɔmo cultural center bi a yɛ ɔbɛba hɔ no na basketball court ne ɛnɛm ɛhɔ na saa dwumadie no ɛbɛkɔso time no ɛyɛ 9 pacho mun sɛ no so ma yɛn pa 9 pɛpɛpɛpɛpɛ aya na yɛ me yasɛ me kase we yɛ obruni time chance kwasi kokɔ aya na nneɛma bi sei no so yɛ den a nneɛma bi sei ne deɛ ɔbɔ ne ho mɔden wɔ ho pa enti yɛbɛka sɛ we nya bibifo time bruni time 9 pɛpɛpɛpɛpɛ na kɛsɛ dwumadie no ahyɛ ase no nti yɛma mɔden na yɛntumi emrantem sɛ ne bɛyɛ yɛbɛtumi awie dwumadie ne ntem na ɔmo fi akyire no atumi akɔ ɛno nti yɛnhyɛ ne nso ɛmfa yɛnhyɛ ne nso pa na yɛnyina yɛntumi emepie mu dwumadie no na yɛnyɛ ɛmfa nhyɛ ɔbaadeɛ anuonyam maka ne saa wie no afei ebia na wonni fie na nso dwumadie no opese wo ka ho ane okọ Abefontin town so a oyehwe Wake Up Africa GH Wake Up Africa GH YouTube and Facebook obetimi ahwe yen live na nso dwumadie waka ho bi saa nso so na fa SMS ana WhatsApp message fa breme mekenkan e dia ma o magi agwai number ad be fa so no 0206 519335 0206 519335 yanko empanyifo na ye no madi na fejumadi no yemfa enhihye so ova
kovi
no akwa
mejo so
megidi se bibia ye boko
obade adaro
ahoden ko ye da obade ase se bibia ye boko ova onim se fidie we so kwase dadu na premoto a e Royal Television so de aha na abusua no agi nyansa fa nyansa penyansa nyansa na omasua nyansa isan se odi nyansa na odi ma eye obade honhom eno nti abusua na du kwase de se na o ma ye krado pa o ma mate asese me gemiri bibira asembeto nti pacho we de e da na bibia de ma o me da se
you go vivi da se
over
and introduction yedika ebe chi ahwefo nyina
fa ahwefo jo so
introduction mu na aka so na ebe chi asi Ghana dey next week.
Oh, okay.
Hono and ebe kono in detail.
Okay.
Say since a rua Fourth Republic more structural adjustment in the buy. Aban bia buy bia say Chairman Rawlings had started during the 31st December Revolution.
Okay.
And obey President 1992 thereabout. Maybe and also 8 years. It is a structural adjustment. Oko no jama President Kufuor. President Kufuor kono also jama President Mills. Emma President Mahama Betuaso. And President Kufuor also ebabe ankoe. No ne die kakra ni emane die no down so ne say when say na the campaign free after President Rawlings no President Kufuor by no the slogan by positive change and we no and a positive change every free President Mills by was a better Ghana also by obey just say slogan send the difa by the corona at the corona
Banzemba kuma
sir.
Okay.
Nti anu dey next week and dey anu be so. But last week year can I can say social adjustment in more of say friend Washington consensus. Na IMF ne World Bank and IEP lesser. Or money dey message co-developing countries send you bit me at your Washington consensus no can again. Na can be about microeconomic stability. It can be about privatization. It can be about devaluation of currency. It can be about free liberalization of trade, liberalization of currency in the Keka. And you know, any day, you disappointed be a phenomenon to privatization.
Okay.
Because I didn't be a man, a buying beer or a big room. Also, more best start in independence, you know. Presidents I know more at that time had one mind. Yeah, called socialism, socialist Africa. Ghana ha Osaje food thereby. Uko Tanzania Julius Nyerere, Uko Zambia Kenneth Kaunda. Maybe I could be our socialist ideas. And my economy nina befiase. But the man no more on the sovereign and near stresses so much on there is a control prices. Hey, number create on say hey, that's how advance and Tony say no, not over TV na fracas between a trader and a buyer. It's in a bar say structural adjustment in a ban. Yes, here be with me in a ego. Nafi yama free market trade. Goods numra na we no am find a level yen prices yen share that me trans say chen china mark yen ton say we yenton ni say enti no e ba say o mu ba ye structural adjustment no na say e privatization and di kan e buy privatization ne tintin ni tietie mu an say shifting activity from the public sector to the private sector. Sabre no na socialism ho no na ban na ne nsada edwuma nyina so oye business wo ha oye hotel wo ha ubeka ya ye nfa ya dwene nko echi kakra Ghana ha mre bitwam ne wo Ambassador Hotel Ghana ha emre bitwam ne Continental Hotel airport ne T37 that time na even say State Hotels Corporation or runs a number of hotels Kumasi and Cry no muni now catering centers catering hotel Kumasi catering hotel ni the cake kan when muni buy and the structural adjustment no buy there aban there wadwuma ni say ubebu man found some business you won't suffer ho wo de ni say obeji taxes na free businessmen for no the jama private sector no manye enti dey ye bibi fufuro bia aba bewura African body politics no mu yanti ase ye de ni ma ni price control ne me keka ho aba na ekushin bibia because aban we a foreign company now ba now yeah so we bibia so ma nationalize it ma take over na je say ono de nko for na ba run na we nu nyina no na yet say state enterprises nyen dudu ono no mo run at a loss say managerial skills no mo ni bio say logistics na ma enti ma mo intimi improve on the efficiency of adwuma mo ye no say dey enti na che za akwa say mo nton bibia amopupa monsa the privatization started in the 70s ewa brutally Britain, France, Ompa ne di mu akotene. The Kaipa said in the 70s, one and British Telecom. Omi so mo privatize and a Vodafone a betoy. Sa Vodafone ya ba Ghana Telecom. Na house will be. If you come pass around when you say broche kwa ya tunto nyema bidia why not
Ghana so yenton
nye Ghana de kwa emvamba Washington consensus privatization it is a thing na bebu mu a it is a this starting it is say Britain ne France omem ye hu say bibisa wo hodo mu a a friend of privatization. Your first picture.
The first picture. Abodini ye Daily Graphic 27th December 1999. Privatization sweeping across Europe. Mufasa picture nento some famaye.
Enji we na be susudia. E ba ni say no na chese e be ma yinya hope. Nti de enyina so ano mu gyina so ne say ye ton a de di kan ye benya sika every the sale of the state owned enterprises. 2 ebe guard against future losses ade no ye ton wie ne free yensa sika enya wo mu no ebetimi dia ya de foforo rather than say de be ye sa business na meko aye ni expertise le kai ba say de bia no na aban kan bibi ekoduru mrebi na kan say internally generated funds na civil servants nso de ye na eniman say spend sika ye koye bibi ana budget ye di akira akọ finance akoya nti ensaka sika no a e ba be ni big baako ye wi anasa say ye successful so ya wi nti a train ya say mo generate sika nkiti and it was our expertise. And say a buyer expose you in say running business no cramp no head. Those days hotels aban nkofo civil servants empanyimfo ne ayifo omu ko kumasia anase takrad wherever ebi wo a omu ko ye adwuma no adi control letter mo meda ho actually ye discard beba
hwem
why na akoko
aban na ebokagum
de bia so no obedi kan nkofo bi ba omu fi nya kan buruchi asem bi nti nipa be 20 mum hwe na munya omu fan any finance can scan budget ya approve ready a ebe suma ba ebe wi ase
well time
nti wenum na kokko so na hu se no ade na hia wo ma mo rane no kra mpo no wo ntimi nyina wo mo na so entimi nka se da bi ananse si ananse nti na che se ye rane at a loss nti no ye be ma akọ nti wenti na ma mbe hu se privatization na very good option nti se be ya yenton aban ne ma ni nyina na fi yenti ahun free ho yedi ewo mu anse taxes e ba no ene e baji na aban so atumi anya bi no de aye ne de enti one government after another in Africa you have a series of newspaper headlines saying you see who privatization. Second picture
ne Ghanaian Times 19 September 1988 divestiture and privatization. Mufasa picture no ento so maye
ndi ene esanso ana media foi omusu tumi nya bibi trotro fa ho asi say idea ni ba ya omo hu de be kwa ko wie ni asati kenkan bibi e wa bebi nsilidi aban so be ndi second picture
the next picture near Ghanaian Times 22nd March 1991 the road to privatization. Mufasa picture no ento so maye
next picture
okay and also here Ghanaian Times 21st June 1995 World Bank asks Ghana to step up privatization. Omabem World Bank.
Yeah, catch your money and amonton. I'm on to so. I dare no bar now. Why next picture.
Daily Graphic 28 August 1997. Zambia for full-scale privatization. Yes, Ghana. Africa not TSM. Okay, yo.
Next picture.
The next picture, no, yeah. Daily Graphic, 24th November 1998. Algeria sells state-owned hotels. Algeria for them. Asemaba. Okay, move on to Somalia. Algeria, Diano. Okay, yo.
Next picture.
Ghanaian Times, 13th January 1999. Divestiture, the global trend. Pacho mufa eno ento so mfa maye.
That's a sweep across Africa.
Global trend.
Next picture.
Ghanaian Times, 14th July 1999. Nigeria sets deadline for privatization. Mufa ento so maye na yen hwe. Okay, Nigeria for so dey aba. Okay.
Next picture.
Business Chronicle, 8 September 1999. Privatization chiefs descend on Accra as new concerns mount over Africa's bold bid to go private.
You're used to socialism. And then now, Kwakobasa, young toy, bia, now entry a free side business because I bind it and you were human so be business. Oh, the end say, who be creating a conducive environment. I'm a business people, now your own business, no more successful. Also, I quack tax. That is a no, the tax.
Of another say, oh, him. When in Nana, Quasico, no, not all Pequania Ubina, when you
coffee mean can say
you
mean can say, son, what you see you. If it's all along, that be no Brony or African, who the enormous resources are war. Natural resources, mineral resources, when we no na ye wodia ai wo ho enti se when we nyina wo ho nom na ye de ya besuma fidie na afidie na yu me se ton when we nyina na ton a na super investors no mo ma me investment a e dey na me kan tiro ye duru Ghana ho na e be hu ho no de
mate over
enti next picture
no abodi e da so no public agenda September 13th to 19th 1999 3,000 African souls sold. 3,000 African souls sold.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Various African countries are buying businesses are in the privatization about 3,000 there or maybe a ton there. You and suffering home. Actually say in your view to send out here business chronicle. Say you'll be a say Africa pan and the privatization. Obi a socialism edidi emu na afi de ye ton ye niema nti ha no na ase etumi hu ne ati ase say Kwame Nkrumah industrialization businesses no share nyina no privatization be affect you mon ton na munji mun san free ho
tine ma o mo ton ni
de ton ye ana Ghana for yen sheda nya information na se ni esitie enje ba ko duru ba bia na timamufo eblemu aban bi ono ho matonton ne ma ni nyina bi kwa nkuma bie factories na nka da ho a se nke nyina ebenya adwuma aye enso matonton ni nyina ene wan na tonye ndene no ye hu da privatization de sate ene ne esi enton nti ye kwaye nim no obi anya information no bi wia ye behwe kasa yi se ni esi kasa next picture
no Ghanaian Times 28 September 1999 Africa needs privatization with results oriented objectives pacho mo fasa picture no ento so mfama ye
to say we say no person can be to say enya say ento ase ento ye hwe se ne etimi ton abi asika ne betim dia ye bibi ne nyina no ye de ya hwe me Ghana de ndem si next week na be wura mu ho
okay
next picture
Daily Graphic 8 October 1999 the experiences of Africa's privatization mo fasa picture no ento so my okay
next picture
The Spectator, 25th March 2000, privatization in Africa. Mufasa picture no ento so mfama. Okay.
Next one.
Ghanaian Times, 14th April 2000. Is privatization contributing to Africa's development? And we are questioning. Obisa Mufasa picture no ento so mfama.
A Bible question pa. Monton no ye ton no aye bia no ya ni mukanko no etisen se abeka kire se aban wo we mfansa enko ka business bia wo de ni se ton na ma wani na ma wani mre no abia sa twa ho na Ghana ha ya ton wie na be duru ba bi na ehia adwuma ma mrante ni mabaaye aban wo ye dey sasa aban creative factories ni mo represent no obi ni ese enton eni aton awi enti no aye bia no boa ye development na ana say yatimi ehu atena se ehu say ya hwe ya ye hu na ba betire ebize monton no eventually no ye ensa every economy no kwa ye say ye dia no it is all limited about to just tax ono no taxes say no utimidiji in any given year taxes say no utimidiji ene no wo ma de tekuni sempoa no na eba no onton ni nyina waton enti na question no very viable say privatization no how is it contributing to Africa's development? enti enam privatization di ba yi ekoko ba say more than 2/3 ewiase nyina assets no the network government nsem ene nyina shift a aba private sector honmo no aba be ti say dodo no akodi multinational corporations for nsem and you know multinational corporations control 2/3 of assets a free abayinsa meka globally ewiase nyina asem na meka 2/3 a free governments and sa ababa bedi multinational corporations nsem and you know now in the 1970s there were about 7,000 multinational corporations. Go on. I feel there. A cocoa drew there 53,607 corporations. And some are almost affiliates and almost subsidiaries. It's not quite to say, every day we are saying economy now, Puno, corporations.
Apa me say same way. Multinational corporations, you know. Nipa e control e omo dia no. Paso omo doso. Ye fa say e omo dia na ye say to test na ye say nipa na ye say control sa ewiase asset nyina o. Omo e omo dia na nya kwanya control.
Na so omo share akiri no omo ye no. So who can even investors even within the corporations, you know. Investors na ehwama enkofo company investments ne ho na abebo obi sell our things BlackRock and no bem now when generally ni kasiem corporations no any dynasties bia omo no kakre omo na bia bedu ya kitwa bi enje se omo no so for banking sector last time near come banking sector you can Rothschild any woman ke kan Lob no money woman ke kan woman the untouchables woman the omuti achiri and woman subsidiaries woman affiliates
foundations or maybe
kusum woman na run this anya men na enti yakọ 1990 multinational corporations generate $5.5 trillion. No kura no sabre no na agudie no na in chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and oil.
No mo generate
$5.5 trillion.
Nipa kakra bi na sika we nyina yo mo de.
Oh, na say ni na ai wo invest bi. Wo de wu. Wo kwa kwa wo de wu bi. Enti
say di na ye bre yo.
Enti e next picture.
Okay. Your next picture ye hwe no e Ghanaian Times. Asema to ye yo. Abuziavo e vivo me sorry o na nya asem ketwa. Ye bro. Ghanaian Times, 7th October 1993. Big corporations tighten control over world economy. But the movie picture and so mine.
Corporations. One more tighten or control over the economy. And we are Juma aban ya yi na nka onu kwa untimi na omun compete. Ene ma wo be no untimi ene private people enkonko compete. Enti na ye kura say yunsa na save face
na ye
na chise farm because any corporations in their control ibia wo asase so enti yan fam to 3 months say they say no most of these corporations they are in Europe, Japan, Britain, US, France, Germany, when Japan. Well, one more the biggest multinational and transnational corporations are. One more know they are more Europe and America. And all more affiliates. And then I'm having more businesses. kakra na has ye biri di akọ
ye politicians no ha na dey abeto o manim hey we munyentom
o tu mrikado to was and ekoko ba sa and wo mo ha no mo no titi you read the next picture
no
I can't say bi
abodi eda so no US Today 23rd September 1999 corporations will shape our future values. Mbaza picture nto so my
and true
yes of course
wo mo na tumi na be di o mo nsemu a wo mo shape
our values
the future values ne ka ho nyina say no ne say corporations in no mo the driving force behind globalization. Ya started globalization aye bia na eti asese globalization ti say me wo msika metumi ababe invest wo Ghana ha na wo aban wo ha ndie wo dia ni say adwuma ebeba mamrante ni maba nya biaye and wo so be create a conducive atmosphere am say oh uba usika no kra no de obenya no ubetumi repatriate ni nyina akọ ye hia ni say adwuma wo ha na mrante ni maba nya biaye nti se ko so wo tem mu a asem ka asem de mba mema mrante ni maba nya adwuma ene adwuma nya adwuma Africa politics ani ebo no enti ye ni san wie no akwa ti say globalization no I defy boundaries countries boundaries because I'm metia na metimi I investment Korea na ya prince ama minimum cost set up business o na ye adwuma mamia no na global globalization e dey buy ni say the WTO World Trade Organization omukra ne kankan wa mumra omusise ni say omen bia ni wa wo tumi say obi ba be investment no so me dey be ba be twa tima na be sisi no e so mo ne kwan
no be twako
edi WTO kwa na ono ba kwam edi ono obi betimi aba me ba be invest in menka galamsi because any asemo me ba be invest no aka another business untimi nsini kwan mane kwan so mra me yibi no ba me enti we na trans na adwene ho a na akwa ti say new colonization no na ye kan na osade vote on the no kampa colonialism new colonialism ni wan obe rati agu ho no sama ababa yi bibia wo ho we na Krobodi say ni ministers no back obi bisa say Krobo na ye bia osade fosoro new colonialism ni wan imperialism ase ni say na we na monti ase akwasiko no jiran kwantia akosiko jiran kwantia na ye to ensa pe say bra na be bia adwuma maye na nya new colonialism by invitation get ase na ni say Bweni sambra ya bamo anya atmosphere obetu usika na enshida
tax free nyina wo mu
ubenya bibia se ni sitie na de ko ye de hia ne se
manfo ye adwuma
wanya adwuma wo mu enti na new colonialism by invitation ti omo de by privatization no by alongside the say no Europe and America asaba ya ntie ho ase pamo ampamo ye ma ye ko ye na ma mo independent ya ntie ho ase ye saba biom na desa ye mfa ayi che eme sesa mo ne ma mfa nko ye mfa bibia ebe ha adwin ona ato nsafre eni aba ye ba be business and this time no ye the privatization ye the globalization e ba be recolonize Africa biom ede na aka ensem a ye na ewo in control na aka ede
ofahwe ni ho
ede na aka ye a ye na teso a ye betumi de ensa si abu se we ye dia ebi ni obi so ye hwe ha e this structure adjustment ni ba no ye fi o ye ba be ye say ne dey cash crop economy buy ye dey buy no ebesi ne mo economy ne ntimi nyini aye stunted epua enti say ye ni an ye saba say ne dey ba ko no buy enti ye saba ya ma afi de ekwaya bie ama nyini question na nke see ebisa abrofo ni say who benefits from the structural adjustment?
That's the question.
Who benefits? I am here no e pentamunti ene ekoji tum. Nti ekoji atum awie dia. Ya hwe next picture.
The next picture no. Daily Graphic 5th May 1999. Role of transnationals in economic globalization. Mufasa picture nento so mfamaye.
Entino globalization, globalist. One more Jumani say transnational corporations, Juma be no more. You can globalization. You hear first video.
Okay.
And she movie beba. No na beba. Ten was neti. Bruni neka. Or che mwami ya globalization. You hear.
Your first video no globalization. Yes, Ramwa. Uma ye hear sa video no.
In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. Concomitant with this collapse, both China and India saw the wisdom of changing their economic policies before they too suffered a similar fate.
400 million Russians and Eastern Europeans who had been behind the Iron Curtain suddenly joined the global economy. And then when China moved toward capitalism, hundreds of millions of more workers basically went into the global economy to compete. And their competitors are American workers and European workers who were making salaries, say, of $30, $40, $50 an hour in manufacturing. And these hardworking people who are quite willing to work for less, they became an enormously attractive labor market for American industries and American factories, which have been moving to China and to Mexico and to third world countries to take advantage of low-wage labor, very little laws and regulations, low taxes, and by so doing, what's happened is the great manufacturing base of the United States has been exported.
Greed-driven, Benedict Arnold CEOs were unable to resist the opportunity to fire American workers and exploit people who would work for wages 5 to 20 times less. Thus was born what we now call globalization, the profit-motivated act of exploiting slave labor workforces to produce cheap and unsafe products that can be sold to American consumers until they overextend themselves on credit card and home equity debt. In short, globalization is the daily business of the fascist multinational corporation in its psychopathic pursuit of stockholder value at the expense of human value.
And the winners are the owners of the American corporations whose profits are soaring, and the shareholders, and the losers are first world workers, in particular American workers who are seeing their wages arrested and their wages fall and their jobs going overseas in the millions for the last 30 years.
If one day I encounter a lady who just bought a toy from Walmart, I'll say, "Respectable customer, respectable Walmart customer, do you know why you can buy such a cheap toy from Walmart? That's because we workers work all day, every day and night."
Wani gusu a wohwe Wake Up Africa Royal Television Jumadi ena wani gusu ya wohwe yi na video no e kire yen globalization na kire se eye nipa kuo bi a omuna omatete nyumaku akese a nyumaku no botaye omode aye ne se omo be make sure se omusika omo penti no adwumayefo mbefa adwumayefo na mo de o ma ye adwuma na o mo be ye no eye enema mbe di be ba no ye nema enye papa enema no enye papa edi o haw beba na afa mu adwumayefo no so amoye no so no musika ye fia bi kire se ye exploit mu ye de mu ye adwuma na sika no nyina no akọ eye sikafo no omo tai adwuma die nyina ye omo de ya no we na globalization no ne trimu po nyina no se ye be fa nipa e de omo ye adwuma ye hunu omo nya mfaso papa mfaso bia wo so na enu atikura no enema ombe produce dia manfo se monye se ye aduane o se ye dan o no enya enema ye papa eye enema ebawo ewudia benya hawo globalization no ne dwumadie no sana na o chechirem over
Kobi enti yaya masese no multinational corporations wamuna structural adjustment ye bua wo pa if the Trilateral Commission for wo na ye ema IMF any World Bank wo restructure wo ne ka tira mu ze mumra na mumfa conditionalities we emra ha na mum make sure say ye be run over be bia ye de ye structural adjustment ne ko no ye kwa bunkam wo ya take over home niema omye na akọ Trilateralism book no mu a page 4 wo can bibi about the person aman bia ne aban bia wa asase su bia no boa na bie kwai ema multinational corporations no take over your next picture.
Your next picture no abodi edaso no trilateralism. Now I say Trilateral Commission and Elite Planning for World Management, edited by Holy Sklar, page 4 overview. Okay. Umpacho mo fa sa picture no ento so enfamaye.
O de toswa obekai.
Okay.
Wo hu be bia market.
Okay. Eno na edaso no. Na debut no one Debbie page 4
near
page 4 MC Amonhwe Mayem page 4. Okay, thank you. Engineer daso na maybe I am marking no na of say yen kind no nti ye kind dia say to put it simply Trilateralists are saying, 1, the people, governments and economies of all nations must serve the needs of multinational banks and corporations. 2, control over economic resources spells power in modern politics. Of course, good citizens are supposed to believe as they are taught, namely that political equality exists in Western democracies. But I say that political equality exists in Western democracies, whatever the degree of economic inequality. And 3, the leaders of capitalist democracies systems where economic control and profit and thus political power rest with the few must resist movement towards a truly popular democracy. In short, trilateralism is the current attempt by ruling elites to manage both dependence and democracy at home and abroad.
And you know, the person amount as you and say, democracy. Brody no the democracy by no. Also one manage. Baby any we are say a friend to democracy. You bend it to suit agenda of person day. That's said the amount. And the so say this so said the nti oman bia aban bia wo wiase bia be kwa no ma multinationals omumra ebize omu de mfaso nti no mba wiase omu hia bibia bi so mo nsebo wo mu na de omu pe bia wo mu nsanka na no modern politics no at the heart of it no economics senior last time we can say ya na sorry see Africa in political independence aka economic independence okofa oyifa so Brunei ni ma political independence no nim say unya economic independence no a u ba bi sane ho nje no de la nti say we African leader now to me behunu say nti omo ma political independence ya ma economic independence a rewa wo kwan a obefa so a ubetumi a circumvent situation no na Brunei no o sheda na oye ne sama wo senia o di ba ya o se ne privatization globalization nya na wasa bi kwan amani
o ba ke said democracy ni ye door opening o ya ban bia o mo de asenti na o mo si enko ba bia
senti na enko ba bia na ka democracy na de country oni say the rule of law ya de mra na ye adwo nye enye jungle ayi na mamba na me de me atutura sef na me ba be ye ndi mra nso de e ba akopɛ enti no ni ahwɛ
ono na wa hyɛ de abrɛw
sa
obedi so
enti no sɛ ya ka kyerɛ wiasefo nyinaa sɛ ya hwɛ ne makwam ema multinationals no mesisa ya kwa America ne ekohwɛ America de no one system is such that say you who difference between private sector and your buying machinery because parties now who be in presidential candidate or private sector no akwa for be from a corporation or any vice and over 7 term ni we na okwa asako ne corporation saa no mo ya entino no omo ye entino akwa ya to say gradually no they have taken over American the friends say governance system because one win a finance political campaign dra one win a Mexica and the corporations no ya ma oha ni ama oha and the one dey omo mfimfini and the ukwa listener donors na oha no nwa na wo e hanso and the one to them no outcome no they will be
gagrafa
omo na benefit until san omo system you go we second video
yes second video no yeah serving the corporations mama yen hwe sa video no serving the corporations
is that behind the scenes in the White House, politicians are comfortably in bed with the CEOs of major corporations, deciding things such as tax policy. Matt Stoller at truthout.org writes how the steady stream of corporate CEOs flowed in and out of the White House to discuss the impending fiscal cliff. It's no surprise that bigwigs from Goldman Sachs were distinguished guests and participants in some of the most important political decisions the U.S. government makes, as they seem to own a fairly large piece of it. The central criticism of the United States of America has for some time centered on the corrupting and hypocritical relationship between big business and the agencies of government.
At the very top of the corporatocracy, you really can't tell whether a person's working for a private corporation or the government because they're always moving back and forth. So, you've got a guy who one moment is the president of a big construction company like Halliburton, and the next moment he's vice president of the United States, or the president who is in the oil business. And this is true whether you've got Democrats or Republicans in the office. You have them moving back and forth through the revolving door. So you really can't distinguish.
Corporate wealth translates into political power through campaign financing, corporate lobbying, and the revolving door of jobs between government and industry. And political power translates into further wealth through tax cuts, deregulation, and sweetheart contracts between government and industry.
Corporations are taking the place of government. They are becoming the de facto government in the fact that they dictate to the politicians what policies they're going to implement and how. And like I said, this has taken the voice away from the people. It has undermined the American system of a democratic republic. It's undermining it, it's destroying it. and it's making the American people who are going to wake up helpless one day because their government is not responsive to their needs.
We have corporations that call the shots in the U.S. government, regardless of which party is in power. There's a huge debate at the moment in the United States over handguns and assault weapons sold domestically within the United States. And the National Rifle Association is essentially a lobby group for the gun companies that want to sell more guns. And they have effectively bought the Republican Party. Of course, the major weapons makers, the sellers of much larger weapons in much larger numbers that kill many more people, have bought both parties. Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, the major weapons makers of the world have bought the Republican and Democratic parties, and so there's not a big public debate on the question of whether we should be cracking down on the sales of those weapons.
But in order to make billions and billions of dollars in annual profits, corporations not only need to outsmart one another, but they need to outsmart the entire world. They actively need to engage in policy making. Where does that happen? Of course, think tanks. Next time you go to the website of a think tank like CFR, the Brookings Institutions, so on and so forth, always follow the money. Check out who the funders are and what is it they want in return.
They are funded through foundations and through institutions. And if you look at the members of the board and the advisory councils to these foundations and to these research centers and so-called think tanks, they're the same people, in essence, who control the banks and who control the multinational and transnational corporations. So here again, the so-called researchers who work for these research centers and think tanks and foundations, they of course reflect the opinions of the dominant ruling interests here in the United States.
Of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations. That's the name of the game in a corporate
Sabri, oh, share a Royal Television, Wake Up Africa, Jumadi. Na edu baby ayana in semono arehu. Video na ye hwe no e kire se eye multinational corporations of account ho asemi e America man mu no. We America o. Kwasi broni na kro mu no. Sa na enye South Africa nkwa omo ne omo ho. Enti in America no multinational corporations in panyifo no they work omo nante ko parliament no mako dictate omo ko kire parliament no both side ni nyina no nia omo nya nhihye ya asese omo di bu oman no omo no omo ye enti endei omo ya man na America man ni mu no ye tuo bi ba ye tuo yi companies ye tuo na tuo de anka ye ti wei adentikwa na se ye tuo anka ye dodo ye ho ye nku ye ho ye nya yi so na de America man ni mu no ma ya ma se afanu ni nyina no aye din na etuo ye tuo kese a ye botuo ni bi din ne enema etumi ya nti ene won se nsuo top basa tantantan ye nim ne ba bi efiba ni nyina omo piti ne magu wiem ende ya ma ni nyina ho kwan ena omo ye esan se multinational corporations no abusuako na control no sika no omo hwehwe ti mu de munye na mo manfo no enye no munye adwuma nye ene adwuma bia omo nye na sika no nyina no emra ye botom ti video no kire enei na multinational corporations no nkofo ede metete ono no omo no control government America man mpo na ne Ghana de ye kan se ebusia yo ye nkofa ofa ba cho me dat
enti we na akoso a enti Congress House of Representatives ne Congress nyina no Senate yomo ya they say they have been well influenced by multinational corporations and say wamunti an American governance system no crowd. They work put in place laws and emanema ebema corporations ya trewo muntabem against the electorate. Oh, and no na ma Trump 2016 obaye no and someone American voters no party one warfare any one well-being no omudi asoma Trump so Trump ban no wa ma meka the multinational for the no betimi ayama wo and the competitors primaries no any competitors neko and someone who can and someone na grassroots for no party and you know bring surprise win. Otherwise, multinational corporations in T, Senate, House of Reps, they care about
the grassroots.
They don't care about the grassroots, they care about the multinational.
The multinational corporation.
Everybody should serve the needs of the corporations. And if a video, no, serving the needs, yeah, more who dear, and so yeah, any dear coso on the ground, send a bit me up. Because multinational corporations, woman know what area, One who a reasoning the whole earth, one who say a young playground. Won't mean restrict to baby, so be more makoha, the had a uncle. A young playground that young person ye piano, a quanta. And the next picture.
The next picture, no, Trilateralism. The Trilateral Commission and Elite Planning for World Management, edited by Holy Sklar, page 8, overview. No first picture no ento so emfa maye. Debut page 8 overview. MCR mon hwe maye page 8 overview. Page 8. Dabinya no, nye ne da so no a.
Where 9. Where 9. 8 iba nsa na 9
aba.
Nti hono. Na abekan.
Okay.
Ase hono.
Okay. And the abeda so ya na ye kan no. I say the new corporation empires spreading the ideology of profit, stability, and the trilateral way. Trilateralism is the creed. Trilateralism is the creed of an international ruling class whose locus of power is a global corporation. The owners and managers.
Number 9.
Okay, I feel mum fa 9 into so mine. Yet was 9 ho. Send a buy-in. MCM Nintuaso, thank you. Okay. So, Yetwaso, the owners and managers of global corporations view. The owners and managers of global corporations view the entire world as their factory, farm, supermarket, and playground. The Trilateral Commission is seeking to strengthen and rationalize the world economy in their interest. Of Abacho Mary.
And serving the needs in one baby I do. And the trilateralism buy any no a Buama multinational corporations are taking control over global economy.
Yes, I'm buying your parliament form one day. Who
and you know, society idea. Let's just say, dear Yenina, dear Anamo, ye two Ninano, a multinational corporation, Sinti, and a Hebre. It is a society idea. A dear baby, and a aka. Yanko, next picture.
Of a next picture, no trilateralism. The Trilateral Commission and the Elite Planning for World Manager, edited by Holy Sklar, page 9, and they are kind of that. MC are kind.
18.
Okay, you ever call 18, no? The next, okay, the pacho and abba. Okay. Inti anona abba no. Na nia abba no na ye kind and one assembly. Maybe I am marking no, and I ye kind. I say, corporate allegiances are based on the dictates of worldwide economic growth and profitability. Mobility is the global corporation's chief asset. The Ivan Trust Company advertises proudly. The multinational corporations, the sun never sets on it. The profit motive has propelled it on a fantastic journey in search of new opportunities. As a multinational bank, Ivan Trust's job is making sure the sun shines brightly on corporate investment. The global corporation is most at home in a profit having, a place where politicians are obliging. Labor is cheap and disciplined. Tax breaks and tax holidays, which permits a corporation to go and tax for up to 15 years and longer. Hey! Which permits a corporation to go and tax for up to 15 years and longer are plentiful. And there are little or no governmental regulations, as in a free zone, which is free of taxes and regulations, an absence of competition, ready supplies of local credit, and sustained political stability. Norman Galvin explores the global corporation and the transnationalized economy. Ava, free zone, like I said,
Enti, you can carry that way. Hey, just serving the needs of multinational corporations. All governments in the world, you should serve the needs. Enti, the judge say, multinational corporation about crew be investment. They can say want a tax break. On to tax for as long as how many years?
15 years.
Tax free.
If I not in a free zone, we are local year. Me kaipa those times in the government section. Me yajuma kakra ho. Na Sri Lanka se phone kwa no mudi omuba. Me kaipa yane papa mind bi a wafi mu kwanya ne ba bi ko kofi ansa. Edi nkomo na ka che se wa pray ase ko benya wo access wo mama no. Government sector. Na like I said, free zone do my dear the buyer na ebe yenie. And panso so no tax free. Both import and import. Yo.
And you know,
monko so na munye.
We na nyamba tax break. O man ya structure economy. O man ya mo ton access nyina. Saudi taxes na beji. Then so investors ba tax holiday.
Hey,
and do then when you they are a basis of your development.
But in that sense, of for me, you make a see and come tax mu be you.
Sir, but I don't ba on your tax holiday. And the raw materials on the years and say look how a buso labor a cheap. I say maybe one and we'll bet you $30 an hour. Ama o mine unko for or the Africa will bet you about 3 cedis. $3.
$2 is not for a baby.
Into when me no buy no. Yeah, mubu am show. Yeah, structure adjustment no. Into when we near if we move buy no business say. Into at the end of it all no. You say.
Of me dance for free zone. Ashaman for me see offer. Ye de omu ye adwuma sa na me supervisor ho. Na ye de ye adwuma sa supervisor bia produce 600 garment a day. Only with team bear say e bia nipa bear 45. Ye na ekuta 12 supervisors. Na ye garment. Price tag na ye $25, $30. That time under PSI. Na me supervisor ho. Na offer tip labor pa. Asama yin ya sasa samanfo emem na bi okra ka okra ye dey fire fi run about to crack free zone crop na yasem eti asama o kan me ma witness bi e wo free zone share labor te say ofa me say ye 12 supervisors every day bia supervisor bia only with team e bia 45 workers mu produce 600 garments polo shirts obeyan super produce manager gina wo so eje na ohwe akatia ne ye kitia ya over even while you supervisor no kra no wakatia mmobo wonante from runabout na da call free zone over areho Ghana empanyifo mutim odin
we dey make we asasebo me nka Ghana asem we asasem da make
opasa me pia ma me makomu bi yo omo nkoso
enti sa na tie dia free zone no ye de buy say ebeye ade ebe benefit the over be investment no enye wu local no enti say na kan no we local company there be the empower say ubinya kwan no
ye ni local market wo abroad price tag ni in dollars yeah say no from production to packing ebedu anim ho no iron for one iron na ye pack me see be as a week no ebi wa two shipments containers na be fa na eko
sa ejine ya bie kwan na exploitation kase ti say e cost e di mayen at no cost it is a free zone no aba ama yetimi gitum say wo no na be boa yen emreko anya oman no na eboa na emu eboa investor say person investor no feel safe na che za odin sika betoa ekwan bia so o kwa be boa mo repatriate profit ye de ne ahwehwa no say adwuma na kan yi say na ne etua mo
Sri Lanka se fon ko an ye de omo ba because omo no according to omo no che say they are very good when it comes to garment Sri Lanka se nko a na investors ye de omo ba no Sri Lanka se nko a
taba na wo ho
tama na me wo ho no
enje next picture.
The next picture abodi edaso no Daily Graphic 30th March 1995. Significance of export free zones. Mama yen hwe sa picture no. Mo fanto so mfama yen.
Ndo be kan
okay.
E had mo 20 kakra. Had mo dia ba be si e die ne free zones.
Okay. Yo, picture na daso na e na ye kan. Daily Graphic Thursday March 30th 1995. Significance of export free zones. I'll say the Minister of Trade and Industry, Mrs. Ima Mitchell, announced on Tuesday, March 14th, 1995, that 6 sites have been identified as export free zone areas in the country. The areas are the Ring Road, North Industrial Area, Ring Road, South Industrial Area, Oyarifa, north of Adenta and east of Ebri Road area, south of Tema Motorway, Accra, northeast of Tema and east of Tema Roundabout, and the Sekendi Takrade Development Area. She further indicated that Accra northeast of Tema and East Tema roundabout off the Adan Road have been identified as the most congenial site, which is fairly ready for development into another zone, and it is likely that the enclave development at this site will begin soon. Indeed, this announcement is a welcome piece of news. In fact, in order to achieve a sustainable growth and development, Ghana needs to transform her agrarian and import-engrossed economy into a diversified and export-driven one. What are EFZs? Export-free zones, EFZs, are special enclaves outside the customs territory of the country and are special administrative instruments for providing free trade status to manufactured exports. It is in effect a free trade zone where goods can be imported without paying customs duties, and merchants can conduct their business more cheaply than would otherwise be possible. It specializes in manufacturing for exports to more advanced markets by offering exporters duty-free imports, a favorable business environment, few regulatory restrictions, and minimum bureaucracy. Export-free zone producers often agree to export all their products and pay a corporate tax rates for the life of the company. Imports of raw materials and machinery are duty-free. Low interest loans are available and infrastructure and service are offered at concessional rates. They may not be confined to a specific location. Rather, it can be a status offered certain producers who may produce anywhere on the land.
Any marking can facilities are granting you now. I'm my local investor. A multinational corporations, and I have.
How I pay you put you one day?
Oh no, I be I say be on chassis. The idea say multinational corporation, but I gonna have one on that foreign direct investment. Sa opportunity no one on that privilege in Ghana. Ah, FDI. And no ye multinational no what in America no investment to her.
Impesa me bobodi.
Na bi me modi. Enye no. Ade de mi hia.
Of our coffee in this one. O coffee in this one. Anka supervisors, workers, I see a provided hospital canteen near the on paper ya toto ni nyina say oh ba field in this one. Nothing.
No. Yeah, next picture.
Oh, Debbie. Your next picture no abodi adaso no Daily Graphic. 2nd October 1998. Gabon to establish free zones. Mummy, here's a picture now. Hey!
There was you and I called
no Kenya, Gabon.
And Gabon is also a free zone because also here investors.
That's
next picture.
Next picture, no, yeah. The Spectator, 13th November 1999. Free zones, a must for Ghana. Move on to some mama. Okay. Yo.
And what you say? Yajatu
move.
Bois investor.
PSI.
The creative Yaman. The next picture.
Daily Graphic, 9th August 2011. Free zones, vehicle for economic growth. A dear that's a fair. Move on to some mama. And so, yeah, who should.
And I be a near Tiasiana.
Hi.
Say free zone no near the ban. Bois na baba bois. Tima mufo no any day. And I cheap labor no.
Ofa.
Na ye be yi nipa kakra bi no makọ because I don't know enye mass say ye fa nipa bebre na ye betua obi ampo 1 cedi. Ofa. Yo hia no de adwuma. O hia ompe. Emfa ma mekane dadwene ho. Emma bibia enkonkotisa. And then what the role of multinational corporations? Say, woman a control. If we are say,
a buying beer.
Because we are buying
parliament.
Yes, Makwai. Not the multinational corporation in here, no. Yeah, man. The G2, the Emrane buy parliament in the G2, and the free zone a buy. Education ben on the my tears ampa say netie enti no wa wo call ya wo experience bi no that's my worker awe who sem na worker and so ya dia to say netie say no so 100 largest economies you can economies no countries no resources any GDP and me who say o economy no large. Now say 100 economies, largest economies in the world over there is 51 multinational corporations. One will sika countries with all their resources. With the 100 to 51 multinational corporations, 49 countries and I said nations. You're here next picture.
Yeah, next picture, no. The Accra Daily Mail, 15th August, 2002 to...
2002.
Yeah, 2002. Okay, sorry. The Accra Daily Mail, 15th August, 2002. 30 transnational corporations richer than many nations. Memfa sa picture no to so mfa mai.
Nations know with all their resources, no. The book company bidia, corporation bidia.
Owo sika che. Ghana man nyina.
Ah, na Ghana dey say mbem.
Ghana dey mbem po. Hey!
Because ye kra no, ye mineral resources was say is in the hands of transnational corporations. Every year, sir. The continue the no akoka. And this is a sign that here dia. Yanko here next video.
Yo, your next video no Ghana for muntie o. Your parliament na da ho no ya tekere om se go matinti.
Today we are going to
for your bomb so enyomo a. Ye om se go mati. Emra ya da tekere om. Omo anso na om kwaje tom. Most powerful corporations in the world. Oma ye hwe sa video no.
Look at the lines in this episode of the infographic show, Most Powerful Corporations in the World. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. First of all, we should point out that we won't make a top 10 list, but rather choose the largest businesses based on how interesting they are. For instance, Chinese utilities corporations are huge because of the fact China has the world's largest population. They aren't, however, recognizable to many people outside of China. Today we'll stick with the entities that most of you have had some experience with. One of those is Apple, a company so large that we once compared it to a small country. If you watch that show, you'll know that in 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak formed Apple. You'll also know its 100,000 plus employees globally is more than the population of a small city, and that its $215 billion revenue for 2016 is much more than the GDPs of around 75% of the world's 195 countries. Apple's best-selling product is the iPhone, and in 2016 the company celebrated the sale of its 1 billionth phone. In fact, the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus are the best-selling smartphones of all time. It's thought Apple sold about 220 million of them. Earlier this year, The Guardian reported that Apple became the first company to be worth $800 billion. Perhaps the third founder, when Apple started up, Ronald Wayne, might now rue the day he sold his share in the company for $800. His stake these days would be worth in the region of $75.5 billion. Wayne was much older than the other three co-founders and has said it was hard to keep up with them. In an interview, he once said, "If I had stayed with Apple, I would probably have wound up the richest man in the cemetery." Let's stay with tech for the time being. In the top 10 tech companies, in terms of yearly revenue, you'll find Amazon, Google's parent company Alphabet, Korean electronics firm Samsung, and the Windows operating system creator Microsoft. You won't find Facebook, even though it is fast becoming one of the things we spend the most time looking at each day. Facebook's revenue for 2016 was just over $26.5 billion, an amount quite a lot less than the tech companies we just mentioned. It is, however, growing at an astonishing rate and was only just recently given a value of $500 billion. As Wall Street sees such tech giants ruling the future, it's expected it won't be long until they start breaking the $1 trillion milestone. The social media kingpin announced this year it had over 2 billion monthly active logged-in users, compared with YouTube's 1.5 million. Google.com and YouTube are listed above Facebook, though, in terms of page views. Facebook has done this in quite a short amount of time, and has been said to have the power to change how we think, what we buy, and even affect our general day-to-day emotions. Its 2 billion community is bigger than any country on Earth, and a sizable proportion of the world's 7.5 billion people. If it's not the biggest money spinner, it just might be the most powerful tech company in the world in terms of how it affects our lives. Still, 5.5 billion people don't use Facebook, or at least aren't active monthly users. According to the United Nations' latest report, about 3.8 billion people in the world have internet, or around 51%. In North America, that number might be 88%, and Europe 79%, but in Asia and Africa, it's only 46 and 31%, respectively. All those folks not online are not out of the grasp of large corporations, though. The next two mega corporations are almost impossible not to be a customer of, never mind where you live. One of those companies is the Dutch-British consumer goods company Unilever, said to be the largest consumer goods company in the world. It has over 400 brands, many of which you probably buy. Some of those brands are Dove and Lux personal care products, Lipton's tea, and names such as Skippy, Hellmann's, Comfort, Flora, Rexona, Surf, Vaseline, Pond's, Sunsilk, Clear and Signal. According to its own website, Unilever products are used by more than 2.5 billion people on any given day in 190 countries. Its revenue for 2016 was around $63 billion. Forbes puts its market value at $143.9 billion. In terms of consumer goods and global dominance, another company you no doubt have been a lifelong customer of is the Swiss company Nestle. According to its own website, it is the world's largest food and beverage company in the world. Its brands include Nescafe, Milo, Kit Kat, Maggi, lots of baby milk and food products, bottled water, cereals, and ice cream. Its global reach is astonishing, reaching people in all 196 countries of the world with all its 2,000 plus brands. It also has 447 factories in 86 countries, as well as 333,000 employees. Its revenue for 2016 was just over $90 billion. Like Facebook, Nestle might not pull in the biggest profits, but in terms of who it reaches, it is probably the one company that sells to almost everyone outside of some tribal cultures. Nestle is said to be worth about $229.5 billion. When we talk about most powerful, that could also include how many people rely on that company for a job. The third largest company regarding net worth is Microsoft, but the $500+ billion behemoth actually only employs about 18,000 people. Alphabet has around 60,000 employees. This is nothing compared to fast food giant McDonald's. If you saw our show on McDonald's, you'll know that it employs 1.9 million people in 35,000 and counting restaurants in 119 countries. In the USA, it's said that around 1 in 8 people have worked for the restaurant chain at some point in their life. The last available statistic on how many burgers McDonald's has sold in total was said to be about 300 billion, but that was in 2014. As of 2015, it was selling about 550 million Big Macs alone every year. So what we know is that this one-time single-shop burger restaurant could have fed every person in the world many times over. How much money does it get for all its hard work? Forbes puts its 2016 yearly revenue at $24.6 billion, and its overall value quite low for this list at just $106.4 billion. If we don't include militaries, McDonald's is the second largest employer in the entire world. The largest employer is American firm Walmart. It employs 2.3 million people, which is about how many Americans are imprisoned, according to prison policy. It's also just a little less than the entire population of the UK's second largest city, Manchester. You'll find Walmarts in 28 countries, and it has a total of 11,695 stores. It was bought in 1945 by a businessman called Sam Walton. His idea was to sell products in large quantities and keep the prices down. As a company, not a corporation, it is the largest in the world. Forbes gives it a yearly revenue of $485.3 billion and a valuation of $221.3 billion. Two other leaders of the pack in terms of size and revenue are automotive companies. They are Japan's Toyota and Germany's Volkswagen Group. Toyota employs more than 364,000 people, currently has a revenue of around $249.9 billion and a value of around $171.9 billion. The Toyota Corolla is in fact the biggest selling car of all time at over 43 million units sold. The next on the list is the Ford F-Series, and then the next places are taken up by Volkswagen. That is the VW Golf, 30 million sold, and the VW Beetle, 23 million sold. VW is much larger than Ford though. It employs 626,000 people in 26 countries and has a revenue of more than $240 billion. It's currently worth around $75 billion. In terms of assets, it is huge, with $458.7 billion worth. It's called the Group because it also owns Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, Porsche, Ducati, Seat, Skoda, as well as other commercial vehicles. So, are behemoth corporations good or bad?
Sabi wani biso a wo hye eye Wake Up Africa jimadi e Royal Television so na abusia meyam kra hye me isan se ye bobodin enwuma ku ahodo a awiase multinational corporations ni bi ne ye bobo no ye bo Apple din ni sika ye boy meyam kra hye me ye bo Unilever Nestle a ye nyina ye nim ni sika wonya annually ne ye 90 billion. Walmart 482.2 billion. Yes, it's can your money get to Toyota 171.9 billion. Golf. Chese, when you a company so I am multinational corporations. Na omsika omunya no. Enu nti na ofa say so we sika omunya na Ghana de kese yenka na Ghana kwa de wo de America kwa na omu sika America. Oman na ho no. Enunti we are multinational corporations amujumadi a ofa echichirimu no nagase omo no sikanti a ombenya no nti no emfa omo he omo ndimi no mi no nti we are buying no mo ba oma pekon oma hyehyemra globalization no mo ye no democracy no ye de ba ya ye de ahye wiase nyina kon ye di akire no botaye wo akire ni nti ena ofa biebie so enti Ghana parliament no esiwa ye tontrowa because omun semra bia multinational corporations in the semra na ne ompese oman no ye manfo omde ye yen no na omubo mutrinko sa na omudi so na omoye ofa ene ne wa maye hu wada na dia maye chen ofa
Kobi
fa cho ya ba ye das
enti se multinational corporations juri sika se wo wiase dia ada na say yo ngonwa say omne fund American elections omne why sika emre American elections no ba ku refi as much as $6 billion and we use for advertisement.
Afa video ni ba ku ma kire say multinational corporations no omko parliament no mo ko kan ne say omo no ma mom sika ti afa ne fani nyina no mo de ye no nti omo control omo no mo kire omo ne enko
sa enti no edimanu be si ye be hwe last video the last video no say
afa your last video no ye funding the political parties I don't know if I boss no me ba jo me hear that video no why funding the political parties Ghana for your count Ghana the count.
The healthcare industry is one example. The pharmaceutical industry is another example. The defense industry is also a case in point, as well as the automotive industry. All of these industries have tremendous influence among the politicians in Washington, D.C. So it really doesn't matter in many ways how people vote, because both parties are dominated and influenced by these large capitalist corporations.
The collective will of the people is no longer the determining force that drives political decisions, such as the preservation of the environment, the welfare system, civil rights, and how the tax dollars are spent in general. Rather, large transnational corporations have bribed and bought the politicians and political leaders in Washington, who pander to the singular drive for profit at any cost.
In the United States, 96% of the time, the candidate with the most money wins the election. This gives a tremendous advantage to the incumbents who have the ability to raise more money. But if you look at the two-party system we have, we're no longer a two-party system. We have become a one-party system because if you look at the top 10 donors of both political parties, both Democrat and Republican, the top 10 donors are virtually the same for both parties.
Well, we're speaking here today on the 3-year anniversary of a U.S. Supreme Court decision called Citizens United, which famously opened the floodgates to corporate and other wealthy funders of U.S. elections. We just completed an election that cost about $6 billion in advertising. Hundreds of millions of that money went through front groups for corporations, such that there's absolutely no indication for the public where it came from, whether it came from abroad, from within the United States, from whom within the United States.
This gives corporate donors a tremendous amount of influence over U.S. domestic policy and over really even foreign policy, because if you don't support what the corporations want, they're not going to fund your next campaign, they're not going to fund your party's next campaign. And so it's really taken the voice of It's ruined the concept of a democratic republic, which is what the U.S. is, and now we're a corporate-controlled, becoming a tyrannical dictatorship that is a fascist dictatorship run by corporations and no longer expresses the voice of.
Wake up, Africa. Hey, over. Obi nemaso, obi ye ni bi nemaso akire yen. Yen de yenim se yekoto aba, yetoma party way and a party way. Na ne video hwe awa America memu no kire yen se America memu ye ni party mienu party ni ye ba kope because party mienu ni nyina no eye esikafo multinational corporations 10 bi a omudo mu sikapa na ma to sa party mienu ni nyina enti yes citizens no there opanaga say omude ye bo atopre omu guru ye ho because o sorry koto abama we you okoto we ma we you ni nyina no benefit no omoje
corporations in age
because at the end of the day no otuma we se oba beboa wa na otuma we se oba beboa wo no udi akire kwa unya hwe because omo an na omo sese emra no de ma wom omo kire se omo ye na omo hu se wo ye wa dwen se omwa omo policies ne niam no enkoso ma omo nya omo sika omo pɛ no de a omo nka hwe unya ba no yom boa na bia obedra akonya ntu na yesa wi a omo nka hwe se lesson bi mbeba edu so ano wo ye den kwambi obefa so ombe ye no ombe pian o party na fi ho because of sad day we automatic politicians e government sati omochi etu ye den ana omo policies no omo de brɛ no eno na do we America mem sa na ekoso e wa ha ya ebi video of a mayor kohwe na get say we ase no we ye den one political party by multinational corporations they fund here and fund here of ampacho you
no enti medimanu besia na next week obo ade ma ya hoden a ene ye behwe the structural adjustment program as implemented in Ghana.
Okay. Yo of ampacho abusia no eda wase papa se ene we de aso ha we de emiri wo mu a abusia no mu aya mo ka se muntimi enya mmeremfa emfre no we de of amaye mmere kakra se ene de yentumi emfanfre na yentumi fankenkan messages no dodo na ene mo of ama kwan no kwa na emi se mo messages no entumi emaye send o message ni bra na yenkenkan emfa mawo anunti mumbie line ntum mayen na fe yentumi ne abusuafo no eni juma no afasem next week na fe de obi wuram ewo Ghana na yahwe ne akoso 19 kwadwo ye je structural adjustment etomo no. Hello udini fa kwa Afrefi.
Hello.
Yeah, udini fa kwa Afrefi.
Afternoon
sir.
I'm talking to say somebody at the window.
Sabe
maybe about Israel and the phone about one come home.
Yeah.
Because of your friend number.
Okay, Ethiopia.
Yeah. Of what actually the Kakra my book for my basa. About the come on, I'm friend to say
yeah, that's it. Freedom Mind Movement for a year kwan at to school ye a 14th of June. June ye, Bosumia, a woman, ya need also do 9 no. Ye besia our culture center a year for school no. Oh yeah, penny who are penny dear of Freedom Mind in more you whom film. You may do a year 14th, 9 a.m. Pepe culture center. Now I'll be PM ewo ho. Unim said you may dear way young friend Niagro. Oh yeah, software, oh yeah, imam, oh yeah, will be bia or person school no baby. A quenya ewo homawa will be to me aba. Na also I'll be participating. Hello. Hello, Dini Fakwa Frefi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay. Me pa cho yo yetio.
We dey of a popular connect the team. The crew me bomo abaso ne adwumata amoye.
Yeah, that's it.
So of our dia we did me ankasa ma confer title video mo. So we are professor of history, economics and statistics. And o share adwumadia we di na o fatasa nti ya di amount men kama som kakra enso mujuma dia mo kan ne no ye hunu wo Ghana na nya hadifo a mo ma ye hunu wi afi afa na nyina o hwe na anokwa do na Trump ne second kamenya multinational CB oye campaign that could be no ma $1 million oye Elon Musk ye hunu nti throughout the campaign they are no ma $1 million. Enti we koso international community no ahade ake MPP no ndisi no de ya form la na bebe me ka se isi no te se wo hwa se de trend no e kono a ewi ase no okitankofo binom oho ena omo ediketi ede ma wiase ena ye de nyina na akwa hye omo ate ndi se so pese wo de wo ho a wontini nti de America ne se Ghana fo omaduo ne mwantie no ye wake up na se ye mfa disua bi sei emwaye no se mpa mwaye ne a denia no edi akire no ebetime ediketi omo se kwasie ne ti a se di ya na agrogu
sa pepe
enti mo ye ninke na yenhu kwen breakfast
Yes, good afternoon. I can say Mr. Yao Poku Dankwa is real teacher in the whole universe. Atakwajo Boahene from Apeu Wawase near Suhum. Yo. Ofa Aje Ofa Sewate. Hello, didn't Papa Frefi. Otie ne ho. Pato oba munyi ne fiso. Oba entie wo ho. Jumu TV no anase dum no kra. Now phone na o de frɛ no ene men kasa. Ti se we te wa frɛ obi ne ye kasa. Why? Esere mo a. Hello, didn't Papa Frefi. Hello, didn't Papa Frefi.
The Catholic Sama boy, a friend of mine.
Maybe I told you too.
I don't know Canada. Mekwa there you are some about your tomatoes. We get my pania ketia yeah. There's a asma can in super no crop but before I say my yeah sorry. I say sorry. Nah, yeah sorry why.
You
asma mo kan ma boto na mbeto because me ye adwuma ni me sabia adwuma ni fitie ye hard work by aketia no so de kitwe bi sana asie ye da ma me adwuma pa mo ye
yo eno ana ofase o wake yen up e say wake up wani bia ye say na papa ne kan no o say wani tia ye say kwase ni tia na agorago ye momoden na enu nti na ofa edi sa adwuma die we say ye ni bete. Hello, Udini Fakwa Ofrefi.
Yeah, but I don't know what this is.
Me bacho yo, yeti yo.
Aba odeshe no boy al condition. En Slanka mu.
Yeah, that's it. En Slanka.
I am not never kwasiara bia the man traffic no gwana. Me asole de no lemuda. Eza gachira mo de mama no na ko pato bia no eche. Papa ne ayo mo bo oba ada no oba wanyu wan pien ka no oba. Wama kwafie tie u ba pien ka me ya wa papa na. Oba de yi sa ne ma wo ya kire. Papa Gana e bi ntimi nya tete bi so ko ni o. Na oba me ka ye timi ni pa ye tinya gba ye dwuma sa wo pa. Ebanu tamu na oba wo wa ya gba ye dwuma abele kan ni edo. What's the papa said to Bla? The to the Swedish Altamano, no, yeah, they are what said man of us after no, young Gabriel will be a fat to Milan over.
We are.
I'm not the Ghana over that now is your travel to what I don't know. I'm going to throw let the brothers of walk from the man, you knew what now. If you knew what to be our father, you have one gun and number about. The letter I young now, but we are not for you.
Yo,
yeah, I want to watch you over your football. What's your normal? You
I say, we say, I'm Eric Edu from Kwadaso, Kumasi. A typical example of multinational corporation is the telcos, MTN. I stand to be corrected. You, I know you will be dear or dear bar. Hello, Udini Fakwa Ofrefi. Yeah, hello, Udini Fakwa Ofrefi.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Udini Fakwa Ofrefi.
Mr. Fulibokoso.
Okay, yes, you.
You're from Mr. Yoga.
Yo.
Na, Oshe, near Kosia. Sadu Mukasi president, so in woman to me, young Shimani. Na sefase hu bibia kise Africa soldiers of Africa in our community no mu ina share mo fa adwen o mo fa o meyi efiri that problem no because woman no music for say wo mo komaye that's a problem let you see one I said that democracy president so mo titi we dey o mo no mo timi ya hwe mani
yo
yeah
that's it anu ya wadwen kira wo dey aba no asemo hi, it's Dr. Osiris Etu Bondi. Connect with me on Osiris Funds.
Hello.
Hey. Hello, Udini Fakwa Ofrefi.
Hello.
Hello, Udini Fakwa Ofrefi.
About your friend teacher, no, because I see up as me.
Maybe I told you, yet you.
Offer will be any power. Offer your demonstrate. Already should have gone to come. I'm winning shit, not today. Now offer Israel way.
Maybe I told you, met ye binti, or Kobe Bika next week.
Yeah, my friend, the baby will be a real way here, my mind.
Maybe I told what if I bet on Kappa. Yo, yeah, that's it. And then offer Obia Wenny, and we be na Yeshua Bayer, no. Yeshua, I can't say Obi in Kofoni or Sayariano. Then, yes, sir, and Nisa Obiania Kata. Sasemono, a misinterpretation, misrepresentation. Obia, I know we know I can or say of a being any, Nani Fry. And Oka, I say of a being any. Okay. Yo, yeah, that's it. Say or say of a being any. Congratulations. Hello, didn't if I call Frefi.
Hello, Mr.
Oh, yo, battle yet you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what the Adam, Yahuya Pa,
Israel will be now.
Israel who came to me.
Israel will just their life. Said the Jamma, don't go no say. I idea to know Stephen Michel. It's just program the South Africa thing.
You
go to no land.
Okay, you. Yes, sir. Dominic. Okay, yo, yes, do so far. Maybe I will be our body and count home. My feel pa na you be dim komo. Why? And yes, I tell
hello.
Yes, hello. Didn't back out Frefi.
Hello, good afternoon. Wake up, Africa.
Good afternoon.
If I think you can't
okay, me pato yet you.
Now, offer, send the pioneer again say, Chicago be the Echedia. And we're not able to answer you. A cool apple draw, maybe pursue a who do me now a pisca. You go Kulima, and Sicate. Oko Suma, and Sicate. Maybe you are the Kubia, and Sica. It is any time I get to come with the Echedia. And the control Swana, or more Sabi, or Medin kind, and because you're controlling. You best sure you're the boy bra. But you know, you. Your solana pa, I be a bar question about Piska. It is all this sketch there, the way the car panel, over control, over soon, or the better be a 1% carbefa. And also come, and I be walking, and you do, you will be yet. A quite bad my young fossil, questions and to be baby sano. Every week be a wee question there, a quite bad young fossil. Yet here, you will be a deal for your team. Yes, a Cabananiasi, yes, I am a fassi, yes, we are almost all to the cable yourself. It's here, thank you, that damn, many be who you miss, me, say, Okamuku cry, Chicano. With your fight, go to your way, what to correction. To tell you, someone who do me now, I am. It is the only being on your day. I don't know the someone. Officer Odidi, Officer Onum, Officer Sidan, Officer Bobra, Officer Comini. I don't know my ebre.
Okay.
I also can't hear ebre.
Ah, yo. Yo, yeah, that's it. And then also, what you in Chira, watch it. Over, I'm saying, the question, no, will be no next week, me boy. Send ya, what can no, I'm pa, no credit of I say, will be you are no, a year next week. Send ya, what be our question, no. Say, yenya ding. Yanya den tin so no fate ha no. Yanya den hello.
Hello.
Ya odini fa kwa ofrefi.
Hello.
Ya hello odini fa kwa ofrefi.
The doing the opening men's and the Kofodia.
Okay, yo, yeti o.
The doing the opening men's and the Kofodia.
Okay, mate yeti o. Ade.
Yes, I have to say. Obi bisa say ben na yenye. Nye say ya ni say. Si ehu ni pesu ayeye. Na ye jan kremusum ni krisisum. Eno no na be ma ye ho atoye. Se ye njai krisisum ni kremusum dia. enya ade a ho better we because Arabs for ni bi so Arabs for ni bi so omrofo nso bi so
okay
omrofo nso bi so
entie wo ho
yehu so ye Hebrew
okay yo me say o kire ono so kire na adwene se ne ebe ya se ne obi question obi sa ye no ne me kan se kakra me kan se dia ye beye enti na ofate ha yi aya ebinum se ofa den na yenye den na wonye ninti e na ofate ha yi enti aya na sa question no aya na aye ayi kakra then dia obeye ninti na ofa ete ha no enu so enti na obie wani na wahu nia ewo ho fi wo so ene yemfa ne se fi mi ameti ha yi ofa bie wani a wahu ye nyina tumi te niema na se fi yeso ene ye mma no ebeba mu no na niema tumi adane isan se yen yeso koye maso no sa ngofo ne ba ye leaders enti se yetumi ti niema we ase ne ye decide education tete ye ma multinational corporation bi ba na me ba no ye ma na be ye mpanyifo no mo te ase a omo mfa omo nsa nkohye nkrata bi ase be chichire o maka omo nsa gu o machi ma multinational corporation abekire duma ne niema ase ne omo ne bra but yen ya be sha ase aboye bra ahye ye niema enti we ye se obe ye nyina beti sa niema we ase ansa no ofaka okire enuti na ote ya no ansa no yenye den nti e na ofate ha yi a o kire wo se bra besua nanso e na obi kan ye no ye de niema bi atekire ho nti wo ka kura na ofa kan kura no obi ti ba bi challenge no se ofa kura nim ni oka obi ti mi di atem osofo obi frɛ me di ma sa di ofatem se manhwe na mantwe me ho kura mfi ofa ho a onyankopon hata so kwa be punish me na so twe be ba ofa so you see people are saying all these things to papa no say papa na chire say enti answers na ye pe no a ebe boa ye no enu nti na ofate a ode ma yen it is anke be ti ase sa me gidi say anke be boa yen okay hello udini fa kwa afrefi
hello
yeah hello udini fa kwa afrefi
hello
yeah me say mentie wo hu o ba ofra ye ni nkomo dwumu tv na dumu no na ye ni nkomo in fact hello udini hello udini papa ofrefi
hello
udini papa ofrefi
hello
no if so my in fact you are doing a wonderful work. I know for sure that Africans will wake up one day from mental slavery. It's my first time watching this program, and I will say, do not give up until Ghanaians youth are enlightened. The truth is always hard. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Udini Fakwa Afrefi?
The from magazine.
Yo, yetio.
Mr. Apple magazine.
Yetio.
I said, okay, we don't have to start you on. Yeah, because I put mama, I like not China, multinational corporations, 1 year. I put the you have to go to the big mama. You have to go pass with you.
Yo, what answer ibinu wase mikra answer questions in Nibi. As we say, in fact, you are doing a wonderful work. I know for sure that Africans will wake up one day from mental slavery. It's my first time watching this program, and I will say, do not give up until Ghanaians youth are enlightened. The truth is always hard to say, but it shall always prevail. Thank you very much. I'm Nana Yao Anane from Kumasi. Yo, Nana Yao Yeda Ase. Me pacho, free the mind. Free the mind. So yeah, free the mind. Penya. There were a year bo say enyi wo mfi saa dwumadie yi mu 14th June bosumi ya yewo mu ya ne da etoso dunan no eye school baso ewo Kaokudi culture center ho a udi 37 a culture center ho time na ye be hia no eye 9 am pepepe na dwumadie we ahyase enu nti se okura dibre bia ewo freedom mind mu a se wo ye rep se wo ye secretary organizer emakuo no udi anim bia mo nyina mo kasa dwumadie ho a esese mutimi be piem ane obi bia eyi ne ho emfim we ye school kese a class swap eteni bia otete nkrofo ene multinational corporations dodo na ye class swap ma eno mo control wiase no eno na ofa nso afato ne ho so a ono so se obetete yen na yen so yabam na yabeboa ama enipa de ho afisa nkrofo yinsam ye de ye tren ada bia kwasi da na ye se be ma nipa de ho wani bia na wani tina hu omakwan a oso be hu kwan a be fa so be hye wo niema ho fa ho koto enkwose ni mu ane na watimi abobra eno ho school na ye to yensa e de frew se eye wo month bia no ye every month na bosum we ye wo mi eye June yi ne da etoso dunan ewo Kaokudi culture center ho na ye di ahiem ye to yensa frew bi bia Ghana man oye youth oye obi owo company owo den oye asori osofo imam oye hena na opesa obabia pato akwanya wo ho brabi na besua de na de nje ofase brabi besua de no benya nimde begya de sua ne bi na se na ye kan fa kotete wo manfo na ye ni bie no na ye hu sa nema we nyina no na ye de ye ho ano no ha bedu brabi no multinational corporations ne ba o de bibi ba obehwem ye na wakwesen no na enye ye wakase fo wade ko ye ne saa ene be de ye ho ane anunti school no baso okay hello udini fa kwa ofrefi
hello
yeah hello udini fa kwa hello udini fa kwa ofrefi
fẹ́mi kò sí ẹni mi frefi Kumasi
okay yeti o
fẹ́mi kò sí ẹni mi frefi Kumasi
yeti o
ye fẹ́mi kò sí ẹni mi frefi Kumasi
o tie ne ho yeti o
tani wo fi ye da tani asepa ana dia wo kan ni wo yina and chronic said you know the work not the not the management now what the boss by and yama no man yes answer yes can na kapufo ndonto di ni young friend secretary me intimate ko abuja ko secretary Emma would be slow young with a hooting man so anyway with that. Don't and never go for a while, pray I be a baby. You do a new Canada and the crop and you are no
yeah, that's say Onshira won so we say Shalom Halikum Hebrew Israelite privatization. Oh wow, I see. Hey, everlasting y'all. Yeah, bless you. Amache Tema Newtown. Yo, Amache. Now see why all our industries collapsed and company work is dead. Hey, Yawana de we so aba. Yo, Abusia Jumadia me no ehwe Royal Television so Wake Up Africa. Wake Up Africa. Na tiedi no, edi ne kwa kire obibi. Say wake up, sorry. Na nyane wada ye de bibi adadao e de was bibi abe fra wani a ofi se eye eno na papa eyi awaya fi o na afi wo hu anam ntuo eno nti Wake Up Africa dwumadi kwese da biara eye dumienu ebope pramunya paimu na tope na kese dwumadi a sha se eye 2 hours from 12 to 2 kwese da biara na ya repeat eye memenda ya repeat memenda na dwumadie enade ya yi ejata sabri wa kruchire ni nyina kama a ukọ abefontin tan so na hwehwe Wake Up Africa GH Wake Up Africa GH ane obetimi akohwe dwumadie e wo YouTube Facebook obetimi akɔhwɛ no kama enebie sabri a me ne okasa minim se sabri yata aye ready akrado a oje gum pepepe ede ama me ne omie no ti ko na kɔhwɛ dwumadie ni bi opanya me ne di dwuman eye wo fa ya opoku dankwa a wo no ye executive director ede ma eku efe no free the mind movement ono enene wagimre a nsɛm no wa pensem mu abiebie mu bama no so wayi ni nyina pie na me sɛ ye nyina ye nya chefa me a me di dwumadie mu tia me din ene Kofi Kumi Israel baby a wo bia no menim sɛ sabri bibia bɔkɔ obade enka wo ho na ne awoye bia no enye jojo na beka yensa na next week abusua ne nyina sɛ o ma few papa na enim sɛ obade do ba beka yensa na next week no bibia aye beja wo fidie mu abusua aha ana bere ma ye kwan ne.
The healthcare industry is one example, the pharmaceutical industry.
Ayano krese heavy or what dacha kwama biano. A Christopher hotel for anasa a soma udoma